Chapter 3, The Letters from No One. Dudley, Dad. Look, Harry's got a letter. Uncle Vernon. What? Who'd be writing to you? Vernon Dursley, taking Harry's letter from him. Ever since the boa constrictor escaped from the zoo, Harry was locked in his cupboard for the longest time ever. When Harry is finally allowed out, it's the beginning of the summer holidays. Even though he is not at school, Harry still can't escape Dudley and his gang, who regularly visit the house. To keep out of their way, Harry usually wanders around Privet Drive. He is glad, however, that Dudley and Piers are going to Smeltings Academy, while Harry is going to attend Stonewall High. One day during the summer, Harry is told to get the post for Uncle Vernon. When Harry goes to get the mail, there are 3 letters, a postcard from Uncle Vernon's sister, who is on holiday in the Isle of Wight, a letter that looks like a bill, and a letter for Harry. Harry takes the letter, studies the yellow parchment it is made of, then reads the address. Mr. H. Potter. The cupboard under the stairs. 4, Privet Drive. Little Whinging. Surrey. Harry can't believe it. He has never had a letter in his life. On the back there is a wax seal with alien, snake, badger and eagle surrounding an H. Harry returns to the kitchen and gives Uncle Vernon the other 2 letters as he sits down and starts to open the letter. Dudley soon sees that Harry has a letter and Uncle Vernon snatches it from him to read with Aunt Petunia. Uncle Vernon tells Harry and Dudley to get out of the kitchen, so they both go and stand in the hall. The 2 fight over who gets to look through the keyhole. Dudley wins, so Harry resorts to looking through the gap between the floor and the door. Uncle Vernon and Aunt Petunia are discussing the seal on the back. Uncle Vernon says that they should just ignore it. Later, when Harry is in his cupboard, Uncle Vernon comes in and says that he has burned the letter, and that they are moving him up to Dudley's 2nd bedroom. Slightly surprised, Harry moves all of his things up to the bedroom, wishing he had his letter. The next morning at breakfast, Dudley is asked to get the post by Uncle Vernon. After banging things all the way down the hall with his smelting stick, Dudley calls out that there is another letter addressed to Harry, this time in the smallest bedroom rather than the cupboard under the stairs. Both Harry and Uncle Vernon rush to the hallway in an attempt to get the letter. After a minute of confused fighting, Uncle Vernon emerges clutching the letter in his hand. Determined to see what his letter says, Harry creeps down the stairs early the next morning and approaches the door. He is going to camp there until the post arrives, then he will finally get to read his letter. When he reaches the door, however, he stands on Uncle Vernon, who had the very same idea. Every day, letters appear addressed to Harry, and they are doubling in number. Eventually, there are so many letters arriving that Uncle Vernon resorts to nailing shut the letterbox. But they begin to appear in the strangest of places, under the door, squeezed through the window, and Aunt Petunia even finds some while cracking open eggs. Finally, they get attacked by 30 or 40 letters being fired out of the fireplace. Despite the sender's efforts, Harry still does not manage to get his hands on one of the letters for long enough to read it, and a furious Uncle Vernon states that they are leaving the house. They get into their car and leave 10 minutes later. They travel for miles until they eventually stop in front of a gloomy hotel on the brink of the city. Vernon's attempts to shoot the sender off are not successful, however, as more letters come for Harry to the hotel the very next morning. Again, they get back in the car and finally start to get on a boat that takes them to an island with a small hut on it. Harry remembers that the next day will be his 11th birthday. When they get there, Harry can't sleep with the raging storm outside, so he counts down the time until his birthday. When his watch turns to the next day, there is a loud knocking at the door. Something wants to get in.